How's it going, everybody? It's Thursday night, 8 p.m. You know what that means. It's time for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast, and we got stuff to get into this week, including Seth Rollins being a fighting champion, Danielson and Okada being the dream match of all dream matches, and other stuff, including CM Punk in the main event of Collision. It's official. All kinds of stuff happening in wrestling this week, and we're going to talk about all of it tonight. Stay with us, folks. Your Big Old Belt Wrestling podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt.
Hello again, everybody. It's another Thursday night, and you know that means it's time for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. You got a two-man power trip tonight because it seems most of the crew is busy with other things. We're getting into summertime and things start happening. But I am here, Will is here, Jamal is here on the other side of the screen. We're going to tag team this thing and talk about some wrestling for hopefully the next hour. We may fall a little bit short tonight, but we'll see what happens because there's always something happening in wrestling, and we are here to break it all down with you. So thanks for tuning in. And it has been, I don't know, I wouldn't say a newsworthy week because we were just talking before we went on the air that it's kind of, we're in between shows right now. Big shows coming up at the end of the month. A big premiere show happening in about a week or so, but we're in a kind of lull at the moment. So we're starting the summer. Things are beginning to heat up. And one of the big talking points I've seen all week is Seth Rollins and his new World Heavyweight Championship that WWE is trying to get off the ground. They are pushing the hell out of this thing. We had his first title defense this week on Raw, which they made a very big deal about, with the idea that the title is that the WWE Championship hasn't been defended on Raw, proper for like years now, apparently. So this was like a big deal. He's going to have the title on Raw the week after he won it and have a title defense right away. He took on Damian Priest in the main event. They're already teasing a possible another title match next week with Braun Breaker from NXT throwing his hat in the ring. I'm curious there to see if that ends up happening on Tuesday as maybe a little gimmick to get people to watch NXT. But the main messaging going on this whole week since he's won this belt is the idea that Seth Rollins is going to be a fighting champion. Seth Rollins is going to have this belt around all the time. He's going to defend it. He's going to make a big deal about it. And it's going to be the working man's championship, this new world heavyweight title that they've introduced. And in all of his promos, all of his interviews he's doing with media, he's focusing on that and making the big deal about, this belt's going to be around. This isn't what Roman Reigns is doing. And they're really harping on that contrast for this new belt. And it got me thinking, haven't seen, this ain't the first time we've had a champion that hasn't been around all the time. But the difference here is, they're making this into a storyline that Seth Rollins is going to be the fighting champion. But in my head, I'm kind of like, does it actually matter in 2023 if Seth Rollins is the fighting champion, considering this past Friday on SmackDown, the closing segment with the Bloodline did like the biggest rating in like years, almost 3 million darn viewers. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that Roman Reigns now isn't just the champion, but he's presented as like almost a special event because he's not always around. So when he does show up, it's a big deal. But on the flip side, we're going to have Mr. Fighting Champion showing up week after week, and I don't know. So to kick this off, Jamal, does being a fighting champion matter in 2023 wrestling and modern wrestling? Is that really something is that something you can sink your teeth into?
Well, to me, no, with a but. And the but is it obviously depends on how it's booked. It would be different if this were, other sports where the NBA champion defends the NBA title every single game that they play.
Right.
And there's going to be, 75 different champions throughout the year. That's not how it works. In wrestling, you are booked the way you're booked, and the crowd responds or they don't, and then they have to pivot based on that. So it's a ebb and flow between giving the crowd what they want and giving the crowd what they need. Now, does a fighting champion matter to me? Not really, because not everybody can be champion, and there are some people that fit what I want to see and the style that I want to see in the company that will never be champion, because that's not what their gimmick allows them to be.
Very true.
So there are very few that break that mold of high B+ player into the upper echelon, into championship territory. Daniel Bryan was that guy once. Orange Cassidy is that guy now. And now it's kind of like, well, they are few and far in between where they have a gimmick that will allow them to supersede them being a bit player. So if you're watching wrestling from that perspective, it's not necessarily I'm not watching for it. I watch wrestling like I watch AAA baseball. It's to see people do well, not necessarily to see them do, to win the matches they're supposed to win, or I'm rooting for this guy in particular. I want both people to do well, to grow as a talent, versus just going out there and winning. So it's not about the wins and losses. It's not about the championship climb. It's not about the big payoff of the pay-per-view. It's more like, how does the story come together as a whole with everyone involved? It's the same way I watch movies. I watch movies and I appreciate the score, the cinematography, the directing, the editing, the sound design, and yes, the acting. Sure. But all of those things that make a movie matter, and all of those things that makes a wrestling program matter. So it's not just a guy saying that I have the belt now, I'm a fighting champion, so you're going to respect me. Well, okay, if that's what you want to tell yourself. On the other hand, if you are into the kayfabe side of it, then, well, yeah, it is sports entertainment, and champions are winners. That's why heel champions are usually, chicken shit losers. So, yeah, it's easier to be a heel, arguably, because you don't have to do much to get people to hate you, and you arguably work less. Roman isn't exactly. Roman's on the Brock schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. He definitely is now. And I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve it, but he's definitely on the Brock schedule now. And Brock didn't invent the Brock schedule either, because Brock was on the Rock schedule. So,
very true.
It is what it is. And Roman's at that point in his career before he bows out officially, where this is the move for him to make. Seth Rollins is right behind Roman Reigns. So before he gets into that Brock territory, to that Randy Orton territory, to that Edge territory, where less is more, this may be the last, not the last hurrah, because I think Rollins he will go as long as he wants to, injuries notwithstanding. But I do think that him being a fighting champion, will that elevate the belt? No, not by itself. He needs to have adequate dance partners that will help elevate the belt as well. His wins need to mean something, because nobody wants to see him go 100-0 in his next matches. We want to see the struggle that proves that he's a fighting champion, because Roman did the same thing. He hasn't been beaten in 2 years or something like that. He's done exactly what you're supposed to do as a champion. So why is he a heel? Like, he did it. He won and continuously wins. Why don't you like him for it? But that's what it is. So, that's where the kayfabe comes into it. So it's a long story short. I think that it doesn't necessarily matter to me, but I think that if the story is told correctly, yes, a fighting champion can absolutely add prestige to a belt because nobody's going to remember every single individual match, but we will remember the bullet point moments that make a person's career. And I hope that Rollins is given the dance partners to do those things. Will he?
That's where I think this gets interesting. That's where I think this gets interesting because I think there's sides to this. On the plus side, the idea of the fighting champion, I think, is important right now because there's a brand new belt. It's something they're trying to get off the ground, with no like history or real big storyline to it reason other than, we need a belt because Roman Reigns ain't around. So the belt was created on shaky ground to begin with. So the idea of having him around with it, visible, putting on matches with it is great. That part, I get what they're trying to go for. I don't think they need to have him focusing so much on the contrast of, I'm doing this because Roman Reigns isn't here. Dude, he's on the other show doing his own thing with his family. That's immaterial. I think the focus should just be on, you're having matches. You're trying to put the focus and the spotlight on this new belt and make this belt into something. I don't think you need to bring Roman Reigns into it to do that. The key part's going to be what you were just saying. It's not just about having 100 matches, a match every week. He needs to have memorable moments that become a thing that you associate with this new world heavyweight title and with his title run. So we're just starting out. We had Damian Priest. They're teasing Finn Balor as another possible opponent. We got Braun Breaker throwing his head in the ring. So we have our first couple challengers here getting in the mix, but it's really going to come down to Seth's got to have some memorable performances with these people. He's got to have like his WrestleMania moment he had with Logan Paul, stuff like that. He's got to have like, something that can be turned into a clip, things that are going to be like, they're replayable moments of like, this is Seth Rollins, world heavyweight champion. And that's what they got to hopefully stumble into this summer. So the way I look at it is like, we have the months ahead of him doing this, and hopefully some stuff's going to click. How and with who, I'm not sure.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that it's premature to say that someone will be a fighting champion and that inherently means something? For example, I just said that we don't want to see Rollins win 100 times in a row.
Right.
But that he would be a fighting champion then, but that's boring. So for him to be the fighting champion that he would like to be, do you think that it's premature? And there's a bit of arrogance in that statement, considering that, I'm going to be a fighting champion. Well, what if you lose?
Yeah, you got to do it.
I mean,
you lose belt next week. They say, okay, yeah, you fought both weeks, but you had 2 matches. It's done. Right.
So it is kind of like I think that's a statement like that kind of gets ahead of the cart before the horse a bit.
Yeah.
Because we don't get to decide whether or not you're a fighting champion and that's memorable in the sense of what the spirit of that phrase means. Because everyone that is a champion is a fighting champion. They just do it more or less than others based on their personality. So it's not like somebody has the belt and says like, no, I will not work. I'm keeping this belt. You'll bury me with it. And granted, some have tried, but it's still more to the point of like chicken shit heel. I'm going to be a fighting champion and defend it, blah, blah, blah. Well, so not only are you saying that you're going to defend the belt, but you obviously are planning to keep it because who would you lose to? So there's that. And then the other side of that is like, so what? So what if you are? It doesn't really matter if these things are meaningful. And so and Rollins is Rollins, and people either love him or hate him. But it doesn't matter if he doesn't have the dance partner. So now the question is, can WWE back him up, back Rollins up, by giving him the support that he needs to make himself look good as a fighting champion? Who do they have of interest that would carry Rollins through the summer? And when I hear fighting champion, I don't mean one match in a month, one match in 2 months, on a 6-month long program.
Not monster of the week shit, where it's just like random people getting cycled through every darn week. Yeah,
exactly. So do they have the clientele to like John Cena's Open Challenge? Comes to mind as a fighting champion. Who are they going to bring in? Who are they going to have? to prop him up for the next 3 months till SummerSlam, Survivor Series, or whatever, that's going to give him what he needs to make himself look good as champion. I'm not saying it's not possible. That's the direction they're going to go with, and they're going to go with it because they believe they can do it. But I'm just not convinced that it's a given that that's going to mean anything when you say that I'm going to, be this hurrah fighting champion for the people. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of odd to say it out of the gate before you've actually done anything. There's no proof of concept yet. Now, on the flip side of that, a name you mentioned earlier, who is kind of doing the fighting champion deal and kind of getting recognized for it, but wasn't playing it up as that. If I look over at AEW, Orange Cassidy's been doing that for the past couple months with the run he's been on. He's having regular matches on Dynamite or on Rampage, and they're standing out. And they're pretty much across the board, usually pretty solid, good matches. They're given time. And as far as just consistently delivering good stuff, Orange Cassidy's been kind of on a hell of a little fighting champion run over there.
Without the constant reminder, hey,
exactly.
I'm good. And this is your reminder that I'm good because I'm going to wrestle for you. It sounds like a dick move. It sounds like a Chad Gable type of a thing.
Yeah. Insincere.
Insincere type of a deal. Bo Dallas comes to mind, where you're that type of a gimmick. And obviously that's not what Rollins go for. I'm taking this in a completely different direction, but it still has a twinge of that Bo Dallas, who is the best John Cena I've ever seen. It doesn't make, you don't make the belt. The belt doesn't necessarily make you. Both of you have to grow together. And that's part of, that's really what it comes down to. Because as we've discussed over the past few weeks, we're already writing it off as a paper championship. It doesn't a consolation prize. You could have given him a stuffed animal and it would hold the same weight. Well, I'm going to be a fighting champion. Well, so what? We already don't believe in the belt anyway. Why should we believe in you? If they grow together, then these arguments will become less so. Do you think that this statement is a result to the immediate knee-jerk overreaction from the internet, in that this is the you're not Roman consolation prize? Well, then now Rollins has to come out there and dignify the belt by saying, I'm going to defend it and I'm good and you're welcome.
Yeah, I can definitely see in a way where it's an easy response to make to the folks saying that, who are also a lot of the same folks who are going to jump on, well, Roman's not around. He doesn't defend the title, or he's been champion for 1,000 days, but he's only defended it 27 times. And it's like, hello, kayfabe. This ain't the fucking NBA. It's a story. It is what it is. The whole, you act like sometimes I think some of these folks think that like Roman's holding up the WWE, when it's like, hello, he has the schedule he has because they let him have the schedule that he has. He's in that position because he is. Like you mentioned earlier, The Rock before him, John Cena at the end of his run. If you're a star, you're gonna get allowances. It is what it is. So that's nothing new. That's nothing unique to him. The Brock Lesnar schedule or whatever. It is what it is.
I think that people legitimately think that Roman Reigns is Dr. Doom and he lives on a tiny island in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific Islands, and it's him, the Usos, Trinity, and like these massive palaces.
His 5 kids running around.
Yeah, they're just running around, doing things. There's just one airport, and Rikishi is the pilot on the island, and Roman is the tribal chief. It all goes
there. You go. Oh my god.
Yeah, but I just think that it's an interesting concept to kind of get out of the gate, and now that we talk about it more, it does seem like an immediate response to the immediate knee-jerk reaction to the belt itself. As being a consolation prize for not being Roman. And that's also like, why would you bring him up? As you said, like, Roman's busy. And also, he's the champion of the universe. So what? It doesn't matter to me as champion of the intergalactic champion, basically. Let's not forget that. That's exactly what that means. Roman Reigns is the champion of the cosmos, and you're the heavyweight champion, and you're barely 225. Why? That's not an apples to apples comparison. So it's a Roman Reigns has intergalactic titles to win versus the Mark Lars on Planet Nebo. Seth Rollins is about to go into a program with Austin Theory. It's not the same thing. So it's an interesting point for him to bring up that he's not going to be the champion that Roman is. Is that foreshadowing? Does that sprinkle the seed? Because again, the first thing we said is, why does this belt exist? And then, of course, Roman Reigns, intergalactic champion that he is, got his 2 belts reduced into one, belt formed by the Tesseract itself.
Right. The Golden Championship.
The Golden Championship. Right. Bestowed upon him from the Beyonder. Why, now that we have these 2 things, are we sprinkling the very early seeds? And this sounds dumb. It sounds dumb to think of it. Are we? How early is it? Is it too early to talk about unification?
No. I'm sure there are already people that have this mapped out for next year's WrestleMania. That this will go the whole year, and then hell, you may have Seth hold it all. Go the whole way to WrestleMania, run through the Raw roster, and then all that's left is the Golden Championship on SmackDown, and then people lose their minds over that because old poor Cody Rhodes ain't in the picture then. Who knows? I don't know. My thinking is, if they're just introducing this belt, I do not want to see a scenario where 1 year from now, WrestleMania, we're already doing another unification. It's just, no, keep these things separate. If you're bringing a new belt into the picture, let it exist in its own thing. And that's why I'm so on, like, quit mentioning Roman and focus on making this into something instead of this whole, like, I got to keep bringing up the contrast that the other champion's not here, but I'm here every Monday. So it's like, dude, you ain't going to do anything about that.
And the thing is,
of course, the thing is, that's why I jump in real quick. If he had that schedule, he'd be doing the same thing.
It's amazing that we hear that same thing every 7 or 8 years where a player's on his way out and he goes, I've been here since day one, holding it down for the people, by the people. I also have a new movie coming out, so you're going to see me a lot less. Cena said it to The Rock. Roman said it to Cena. Who's going to say it to Roman?
Yep.
And that's...
Got Seth doing it right now, and then hell,
right.
While never mind that he had to fly back from Saudi real quick to go film Captain America. So he's already dipping his toes in the same damn circles. It's like... Exactly. If anyone can get those deals, they're going to get them. But
and to be honest with you, the only person that could do that and talk shit is The Miz.
Yeah. Well, it fits at least for The Miz to do it, It fits his whole character.
Exactly. I 100% agree. The Marine 18, it's got to be on the way soon.
That, of course, a new season of Miz and Mrs. I'm sure is about to drop any damn second now. Because USA pretty much every summer brings that out. So got to keep him on the Raw brand as long as that show is running. He ain't never going to be a SmackDown guy because they got to keep that crossover with the reality show. All right. I think we've done the World Heavyweight title and does being a fighting champion matter. I think we weighed in on that. So let's switch it up to another topic that's going around because, of course, we are on the road to Forbidden Door. We're on the road to the big crossover with AEW and New Japan, the second year of this happening. And this week they announced the top of the card. I guess it's kind of a co-main event, the way they announced it. But one half is going to be old Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay rematching from the Tokyo Dome. I'm kind of whatever on that, since two guys I'm not terribly crazy about watching. But on the flip side of that is the match that a lot of people have talked about for a long time. First time ever, it's finally going to happen. Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada.
Right.
Announced and official, going to happen at the end of the month at Forbidden Door. Lord knows, I think I've been hearing people speculate on this match probably since like the mid 2010s, since Okada really kind of blew up and became like the guy in New Japan as far as like, a match that people would love to see. Probably that people were probably asking for this match back when Bryan Danielson still wasn't even wrestling, when he was out with his injury for that chunk of time. So I don't know, that it's here. It's finally happening. And I don't know. I'm kind of like, I'm excited. I don't want to say I'm not excited about it, because it's definitely an intriguing match. It's two guys I really like, but at the same time, I'm sitting here and I'm kind of like, it kind of feels like, I don't know, has the time passed the peak passed for this being like the hottest possible property around? Because I don't know. I'm not quite as excited as I thought I would be. And there's definitely a time in my life where probably like, God, pre-COVID, it would have been like, oh my God, I would have been right on that train. And now I'm kind of like, I want to see it, but I don't have the sizzle for it. I don't have the excitement for it. I don't know. What was your thoughts when you heard the announcement?
Well, long and short of it is I don't watch New Japan. So it's not that I don't care. It's just that there's no frame of reference for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have not really seen too much of Okada, largely because I don't watch New Japan. I've seen him a few times, maybe in TNA, I think. And I think I've seen him a few times, maybe in ROH, I think. But for me, that name doesn't really mean much to me. And that's just going to be the disconnect on my end. It is what it is. As far as Brian goes, I know what I'm going to get from him. He's hell of a competitor. We know that he's on his way out. And if this is the one of his bucket list matches, then so be it. So personally, it's not something that I immediately care about because I'm not into Forbidden Door. This isn't interested enough for me to follow. It's whatever, it's going to happen. Good on you if you're excited. The bigger overarching question is, can you be excited anymore? We and every other asshole with a podcast everywhere in the world is speculating and putting together the wrestling multiverse, because that's a thing that we do now, and try to put together all of these dream matches. And every so often, the impossible is becoming very possible now. Now that the Forbidden Door is a thing, and we've all walked through the Forbidden Door, whether it's the literal New Japan AEW collaboration or other forms of collaboration, it's kind of like, there's no surprise anymore because everything is possible. More so the fact that because of the rise of the indies in their streaming deals, their television deals, and to be able to leverage awareness on the internet, we're seeing those matches anyway. We've seen a lot of these matches where it's like, damn, Tony Khan is going to let this match happen in GCW and not on TV, or this match is going to happen in Defy and not on TV. That's insane. Why would he allow that? But that's such a WWE move because they don't allow anybody in the gate. They are a completely closed country like North Korea, and there's no way in or out. Whereas the more collaborative effort between AEW and Impact and the major indies, nothing's impossible anymore. Kind of like how interleague baseball, certain things were impossible unless it was at the World Series. Now, I'll see you in October. I'll see you in September. Oh, you'll be back next year. And that's that element. Once the cat's out of the bag, it's out. You can't do that anymore. So, is this match the bucket list? Oh my God, I need to be there match? Well, not for me, it isn't. And that's just on me. But in general, how about this? What would be a match? Obviously, that is physically possible, that you would go and say, I either need to A, be at the show, or this is a must-watch bucket list match for me.
Ooh, and see, that's, I think, just it. In 2023, I'm sitting here and I'm like, because so much now is on the table and so much is available and so many, there is not the forbidden fruit that there used to be, short of people in WWE doing stuff outside of WWE. Because I think that would be the interesting part to me, is not people coming to WWE, it's WWE allowing someone to do something elsewhere, which is just not, their norm. I think part of it, when I think about the Danielson Okada match, is the intrigue to me was always Danielson going to New Japan and it happening in New Japan, and not so much it happening outside of there. I always figured it'd be him going there, so it'd be him in a completely different environment, him overseas, him in a completely, different presentation. And that's not what this is going to be, because regardless of whether it's a co-branded show or not, Forbidden Door is not a New Japan show completely.
Oh.
It feels like an AEW show when you watch it.
It is a Ring of Honor show.
Yeah. It's it's gonna be in Toronto. It's its own thing, but it feels more AEW to me than New Japan. And I think that's mainly because they're the ones hosting it. So it's going to feel like it's their turf, I think, no matter how you dress it up. It always feels like, as my impression of last year is like, this feels more AEW than New Japan.
There's a very specific presentation to New Japan that AEW doesn't do.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's part of what it is that probably is taking a little bit of the bloom off the rose to me is when I always thought of that match, it would have been Danielson facing Okada in New Japan. And this isn't quite that. It's close, but it's not exactly the same. But guys, as far as another match, I mean, there's got to be something. There is nothing that's like on the tip of my tongue jumping out at me where it's like, oh, well, for years I've wanted to see this.
Well, yeah. See, and I'm struggling to think of that also, and I think that's because of where we are physically. We are not old enough to go, damn, they're dead. I won't get this match anymore. And we're not young enough to go, oh, he's never worked here. That would be cool if they did. Because, unless you go straight to WWE out of high school, which isn't really the thing anymore to do, the indies, you will find that match somewhere.
Right.
Wherever that thing is. And then, of course, there are, people on the other side of that where it's just like, okay, well, realistically, they can't go anymore. Goldberg is pushing 60. Malenko physically can't do it. Lex Luger physically can't do it. Bret Hart physically can't do it. So it's this weird, middle-age flux that I'm in where it's just like, would a bucket list match be Trey Lamar versus Chris Candido?
We're crossing generations and stuff.
Exactly.
It would. You bring that into play, then the possibilities are endless if we can cross time and space.
But realistically, that's obviously not going to happen. So, and seeing Sabu recently, that's another, they're just old enough to be out of the game officially and retired. But then people on the younger end are not young enough to have the gravitas to make me go bucket list.
Right.
And there are guys that I would love to see. I would fly if I could get this match and this place and time. I would love to be there for it. But then this is the thing. If the dream match were happening in Germany, for example, so not in the US, not in Japan, but Germany, a place that that you can get to, but it's going to cost you a little bit of time and money. I don't know who that person would be that would make me go, book it. I'm in Berlin. I need to see this.
Right, where you're going to have to make some significant effort to be there.
Yeah, the younger guys would have to have more meat on the bone from me. And the older guys, I don't know who's left. Because of all of the episodes of Dark Side of the Ring that you guys watch, you're taking more than half of my generation of wrestlers away from us, and the ones that are left are 80, or they have 80-year-old bodies and a 50-year-old brain, and it's like because wrestling in the 80s and 90s. So I don't have, and it's a long way to say that I don't know who that would be, and I think that's the disconnect between the generations. I don't know who's that multi-generational star that would make me go. That's not in WWE, of course, because that's that's the only taboo, and that's because the doors are closed. It's not because Rollins versus or Chad Gable versus a lot of people would be a bucket list match for me.
Could be all kinds of awesome possible matches there.
Exactly, but realistically, I would fly to Germany to see Gable versus Gresham. Gable versus Mike Bailey.
Right.
Absolutely. That's a match that I would absolutely pay to see. But we know what it is with WWE. Now, as soon as Gable hits the indies, bet I'm on the road. But but I can't think of too many guys like that makes me go, as soon as they leave WWE, I'm on the move. And that's and that just is what it is. That's WWE is going to do their thing. They keep, and that's the reason why they keep such a tight-knit, closed ship, because it does make their people a little bit more valuable.
Yeah, and if they're going to have the match, they want it to be on their turf, and they want to reap the reward of it. You
Exactly.
got to come to them. it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right, let's have our almost a little over half time break. We're cruising along here, so this is working out better than I expected tonight. So we're going to take our break. We come back after that. We will have the indie spotlight and all kinds of other stuff. We'll talk about the Collision main event that's been announced, and if we're excited for that one, folks, stay with us. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast will be back right after this.
Are you a fan of all things media? Are you a fan of professional wrestling and sports? Then you need to check out Big Gold Belt Media. We're the ultimate destination for all things entertainment and media, with the latest news, interviews, and analysis from the world of the aforementioned entertainment realm. Our team of dedicated journalists and analysts will bring you exclusive content that you're not going to find anywhere else. And we're not just an online destination. We attend live events, conventions, bringing you behind-the-scenes access and exclusive content that you're not going to find anywhere else. Plus, you can show your support for our brand by subscribing to our Patreon, patreon.com/BigGoldBelt. Join the Big Gold Belt Media community today and stay ahead of the game. Follow all our social media platforms at Big Gold Belt for the latest updates and exclusive content. Whether you're a diehard wrestling, sports, nerd culture fan, or just a casual like some people, Big Gold Belt Media has everything you're going to need to stay informed and entertained. So what are you waiting for? Check us out today at biggoldbelt.com. That's biggoldbelt.com.
We are back, and we are ready for our indie spotlight that we love to check out every week. So, Giant Crab, what's happening on the indies this month?
So that would be Thursday, June 15th, which is a week from today, 7 days from today. It is Fightertainment Spectacle out there in Pottsville,
That's a heck of a
Pennsylvania.
name.
Yeah, it's a hell of a name because that's what it is. Fightertainment Spectacle in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Pottsville is just outside of Philadelphia. And that is next Thursday, the 15th at 7:30 p.m. Pilgrim Ruth Brewing, 213 North Center Street in Pottsville, PA. About an hour-ish outside of Philly. Tickets are $10. And the big match, it is Mike Bailey show, speaking of Speedball. And it's him versus local kid, Tony Deppen. And
nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's like and that's the thing. We were just talking about bucket list matches, what would make you move? And the thing is that if I didn't see this come across my feed earlier, this would be a match that would be heavily invested in.
Mm-hmm.
But they're giving it away for $10 in Pottsville, Pennsylvania next Thursday night. So, good on them. Go to the show. Let us know how it is because we'll be doing the podcast live from 8. But chime in from the show. Let us know how it is, and if it's good, tell them we sent you. But it's $10. You can get tickets on Eventbrite. Follow Mike Bailey on Twitter. At Speedball Mike Bailey, and you can go see this show in Pottsville at the Pilgrim Ruth Brewing Company, 213 North Center Street, Pottsville, PA. Deppen versus Bailey, among others, for Fightertainment Spectacle, live next Thursday in PA, and that's the indie spotlight for this week.
Get your Fightertainment, folks. I could see that name being locked up pretty soon, one way or another. Fightertainment. Amazing stuff. But that goes to show. I mean, like we were just talking about with like dream matches or whatever, just between the indies and just everyone being more open to working together and coming out of COVID, with everyone looking to travel and get back into having matches. It's just there's not a whole lot of forbidden fruit out there unless you get to the very top tier of stuff. And some of these matches, like you just said, $10 in Pennsylvania next Thursday night, you can just go see it. No big deal.
And we've seen a lot of that where, and that's kind of the good and bad of it. You can't just be all in on the company dictating everything that you do. We saw it with Terminus, Jonathan Gresham's promotion that happened a year or so ago, where he was putting on for his people in Atlanta, bringing them live entertainment, but there were some actual quality matches that on paper, I'm interested now. And we're getting a lot of those, and that's largely because they're able to do it themselves. Okay, cool. But that's not WrestleMania. That's not all or nothing. That's Double or Nothing. That's not Triple Mania. That's not Wrestle Kingdom. That's not, what's the Grand Princess. It's kind of like certain things need to be on the biggest stage possible. And it's hard to, unsee the fact that I was in Pottsville for this match.
Right. Yeah.
So
setting does matter. There's you can put anyone together in different places, but at some point it's like, okay, the match is happening in a brewery. And it's like
right.
it is gonna kind of undercut what you're presenting, no matter what it would be in the ring.
Right, absolutely. And that's also a thing too with this like overconsumption of everything nowadays. The territory system isn't dead. It's just as online now. And that's the difference between today and 30 years ago. If you run a show in Memphis with one card and you run the same show in Nashville with the same card, even though they're 2-ish hours away, nobody in the cities knew about the other cards. Right. Because the Memphis show ran in Memphis on Saturdays. The Nashville show may not have had a TV show in Nashville, and you had to go to the show. But the boys were running the NWA circuit in the Mid-South, and that just wasn't what it was. And now that you can be in Saudi Arabia on a Saturday and then be in Cleveland on a Monday or wherever, everything. The world is a lot smaller, yes. And there's a lot. It's a lot harder to hide in wrestling too because of the fact that the internet sees all and knows all, and that's part of it. It was a simpler time way back in the dark ages when we would have to call a 900 number to get the scoop from Gene Okerlund or whoever to tell us why we should watch Saturday night's main event or something like that, or to be in Fairfax at the Patriot Center because they're coming. Right. One or three times a year that they're going to come, and this is the match that you needed to see.
They're coming to your town. The only way you're going to see that match is you got to go to the arena because it ain't going to happen on TV until like a year from now when they blow it off on Saturday night's main event because they got to make that arena money first on it. Right. And never even mind if you got down that rabbit hole in the Japanese wrestling where you'd have to wait for a physical tape. So the match had happened, and then you'd be like, okay, I got to wait about 3 weeks for someone in the States to get this and then duplicate it and send it out and wait for it to come in the mail. So
no, absolutely. I mean, I definitely remember, recording ECW at like 2 a.m. and then sending it, to people around the country that would send me things from their local stuff, championship wrestling from Hollywood and stuff like that. And that's what it was. And yes, it was an archaic boondoggle of an operation, but damned if it wasn't fun when that thing came in the mail.
No doubt. And now it created anticipation.
Exactly.
That was just it. And that's the thing missing in nowadays where it's just everything's instant gratification, push of a button. It's all at your fingertips. So the anticipation is only in the buildup to something.
Now, I know it sounds like we're two old men yelling at the clouds because these damn kids are their damn internet. Right. But honest to God, back in the day, and I hate that I'm old enough to say back in the day with many now, is that in order to see a match, it really was a once in a lifetime reality bending experience to see two matches, two guys or two tag teams or whatever, or the luchadors were coming, or the Japanese were coming, or whatever. Liger was coming to town. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Japan was so far away at that point when we didn't know that if he would ever be back to Baltimore again. Or we would have yearly pay-per-views, Great American Bash in Baltimore every year. Right. If I don't go to one show, I'm going to be in the Baltimore arena in mid-June.
Right.
And stuff like that. And now it's just like, nope, it's on the network. No, Peacock, $10. WrestleMania is $10 now. And it's a trade-off. Would I go back to the late 80s, early 90s of closed circuit television, tape trading, dubbed shitty VHS? From recorded at 2 a.m. or from bad cable television,
right?
Or what I want AEW to do is put on HBO Max or put it on the network or develop their own app so that I can watch it on my phone on the way to work. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like, damn these kids and their damned internet, but also I'm going to just look at Cage Match and see if the match hasn't happened yet before it is truly one of a kind. So. The burden of progress is what it is, and that's a thing.
Modern technology is what it is. There ain't no going back.
Ain't no going back. Damn kids.
All right. Let's look forward with our third topic for the night, as we've been going on about this for the past couple of weeks. Our kind of AEW Collision watch, because last week we went from the show's coming to the show's official to CM Punk's going to be on it to this week. Now we know the main event.
Right.
Tony Khan gave us the main event, and the surprise here is first show, I guess next Saturday now it's going to be when it happens. Yes, we're just about a week away from this happening. CM Punk's going to wrestle on the first show. They are not going to make us wait. I think a lot of people were waiting on a promo and thinking that would be the deal to kind of set the table, but nope, he going to wrestle on the first show. So the very first main event of AEW Collision is officially going to be CM Punk teaming with FTR against Samoa Joe and the newly formed Bullet Club Gold, which is what, Jay White and Juice Robinson. So a 6-man tag main event. So the question here is, now that we know this, does this do anything for us? Is this add any sizzle to an already, unknown commodity with his Saturday night show? For me, it's kind of like, I'm shocked he's wrestling in the very first show. I didn't think it would happen this soon. At the same time, though, I'm kind of like, a 6-man tag? It's like, okay, that's something, but it also just kind of feels like a regular old match it feels like a regular match I would see on TV, and I don't know necessarily that's what this first show needs, but I'm sure they're banking on the idea, well, it's CM Punk after, all the drama, and he's been gone since September, so it doesn't matter that the match itself is just kind of it is what it is. I don't know. Your take on what they've thrown at us here with this 6-man tag.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that they are doing a 6-man tag because they're hyping up CM Punk individually. And then for him to put with 5 other guys, it's kind of like, we've already seen the 20-minute long promo in a 1-hour show before when they debuted him originally. And that's fine. I don't think that they need to do that again, and I'm glad that they're not. But it is interesting that they've kind of just thrown this match together. And I think they can get away with it now. Personally, I don't need a lot of build in my matches. If it's a good enough match on paper to sell me on it, then ring the damn bell. For other things that I may need to be sold on a little bit more because I'm not as familiar or because it's people that I'm not interested in, then maybe I might want to see a little bit of build towards a match. Samoa Joe, again, being in Ring of Honor, is kind of like out of left field because why would he be there? And then Punk and FTR, which is like a known thing, but it's not really a known thing because they're not officially in a stable together. They just happen to be friends,
buddies, whatever they are.
So it's the power of friendship versus Team Heel, I guess.
Well, never mind. What is Samoa Joe doing with random Bullet Club dudes? It's just like,
right.
Okay.
Right.
that team is very odd. That's that other side of the coin where it's like, at least FTR and CM Punk have a known, affiliation online and all this. And we know they're boys. We know they're a crew as far as this whole thing goes. But Samoa Joe and Jay White and Juice Robinson? That's just okay. All right. That's 3 guys. That's about all I think of it. It's 3 guys.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Collision a lot more next week because it is the debut show. And as I look at the poster for Collision, I see Thunder Rosa, I see Miro, I see the House of Black, I see Hobbs, I see Samoa Joe, Punk in the middle, Andrade, and Scorpio Sky. So we definitely have a lot to cover on Collision as a show, and we'll definitely do that in depth next week as to what our hopes and expectations are, and what they can do to get the show off the ground. But I don't think they need to repeat the second Rampage ever. That's been done. We know what we're getting with Punk. I think the people just want to see him healthy and in the ring and okay. I think they just want to know that he's back and not stupid stage diving. Like, dude, you're 50. You're going to break everything in your below the waist. Just go back there and just work. And I think the safe answer is to put him in a tag match so that he doesn't have to carry the load for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Not that he can't, but we don't know if he can. And this is kind of just a safe, let's just get your feet wet. Now the question is, obviously going into the match, we know who the heels and faces are. Since Punk does have a bit of animus on his shoulders right now, and he has his supporters and detractors, him returning as a face, is that the right move for him? I'm not sure that it is, but if they're teaming with FTR, it's clear that Punk is going to be on team face in this situation versus the Bullet
it's Chicago,
Club.
so regardless, he's going to be a face that night. How it stands week 2, that's, I think, totally up in the air. But for that first episode, he's a face just because of where he is.
Right. Now, and also, more importantly, I really hope that this is, team friendship gets interrupted by House of Black or something like that. So we set them off in an immediate storyline going forward. It's Punk working with the roster, not, against it or beside it or anything like that. Nothing, just get him and on the ground running, gingerly, but still running. And I think that's what it is. It's like, somebody's first back injury after injury. We don't have to play the full game. Just give me 10 minutes.
Right.
Just give me 3 innings. Let's see how you do. We'll sub you out. Cool. So I think overall it's a good, safe match for Punk. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. And it will be live on Saturday in Chicago. So that's going to be a whole thing. It'll be interesting to see what the show is. And especially, I don't know if you've seen any of the teasers or something. They're going with this space shuttle laser graphic gimmick thing.
Right.
Space station thing. So I don't know what that's about. So we're definitely going to talk about the show itself more, but it's easy for old man Punk to just get out there, put in 3 good minutes of a 15-minute long match, soak it in for the crowd, get that pop that Khan needs, and be out. Hopefully he brings ice cream with him this time too.
Yeah, well, the ice cream bars return in the United Center like they did last time. We will find out if he's going to throw down the money for that, because that came out of his pocket last time. So you never know. For the return, for the second coming, as they're calling it, maybe there will be ice cream again. And we'll have to find out in a week. I think, I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. If they're going to do a match, the 6-man tag works in the idea that he does not have to do a whole heck of a lot. And Lord knows that's kind of going to be the elephant in the room, that he hasn't had the smoothest return since he's come back. It's been a very bumpy road of him being like there for a little bit, then he gets hurt, and he's gone, and then he comes back, then he gets hurt again. And regardless of whether it was, from stage diving or, injuries in the ring, he hasn't exactly been on a smooth run since his return. And that's going to kind of be looming over him in addition to all the other drama. So easing into this, not a bad idea. I think most people just expected, okay, there'll be some kind of promo that'll set up hopefully a match the second week. A lot of people seem very intent on the idea of running back him and Samoa Joe from their ROH days. And I like that they're doing it this way, because I don't know how that works as a singles match in 2023. I'm just not sure. I have a feeling that it would feel like it was like at half speed, that it just wouldn't have the same snap, same spark. Hell, maybe I would be wrong on that, but that's just kind of my initial feelings when I heard that. I was like, I don't want to see those guys go at it and feel like, they've lost a step. And compared to back in the day when, they were young and full of piss and vinegar. And it's like, I want to keep that memory alive of their ROH matches. And I don't necessarily need to see it run back, 20 years later. Probably.
Yeah, it's 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's just it. 21
years ago. That they're not that guy anymore.
No.
And I don't know why people are expecting them to. So I don't need that. And that's also, I think Punk was working outside of his parameters. He was basically just trying to do too much. And he got injured, arguably injured for it. But I don't necessarily need him to be the MVP. I think Punk is a good role player. who can definitely serve a purpose, he needs to just go in there and do his thing and go home. That's it. No more, no less. I'm very okay with less with more being. We've talked about the Brock schedule, the Roman schedule, the Rock schedule. Punk needs to be on that schedule too.
Yeah,
and
that's fair. That's totally fair.
One of the things that we haven't seen from Tony Khan is restraint, and less is certainly more at times. And I can't miss you if you don't go away. So yeah, give Punk his due. Bring him back. The big first show. He was second show of Rampage in Chicago. Make him the martyr. Do the thing, and then maybe we don't see him for 2 weeks. And that's a lot of what we don't know about the show. We don't know where it's going to fit into the ecosystem. We don't know if it's. Is it going to be an hour? Is it going to be 2 hours?
2 hours, supposedly 8 to 10. So they got time to fill.
So they do have time to fill. So hopefully, they are able to better mortgage the time that they don't have for Rampage. Because if anything, Rampage seems consistently stuffed, consistently overbooked with matches that are very, very short. 4 matches in an hour is a big ask, with including entrances and promos too. So hopefully Rampage, not Rampage, but hopefully Collision as a show flows better. So that'd be good to see. That'd be good to see. But as far as Punk goes, less is more. Use him sparingly. Let's just get it. Let's just go back and see what he can do, assess, and then move on from there. Now, of course, because it's AEW, 450, and then a shooting star press, and then he ends it with the Pepsi splash.
Hits every move there is under the sun. Big bang, then the show. I know. We'll see. We're it's over a week away. I think the biggest thing I'm curious about next week is how much more they tip their hand onto what exactly this show is going to be beyond just him and this one match they've announced. So hopefully by next Thursday, we have a good idea of what exactly the debut of Collision is going to look like. Enough about that. We got a few minutes left here. There was a couple news bits we were talking about before the show that we could use to finish up with here. So let's hit those before we take it home, because we got about 3 minutes here.
Yeah. So I'll make it quick. Let's just get to a couple of news and notes. Number one, congratulations. Congratulations to Billie Kay. She announced her pregnancy on social media earlier today. So, good on her, good on the fam. And that let's do it. It seems to be baby making season. Carmella's pregnant. Billie Kay is pregnant. It's gay. It's happening.
Alexa Bliss too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other one I can think of. Alexa Bliss.
They're popping out. They're gonna be coming.
Hey, I see what you did.
Not quite yet. December or so. End of the year. Babies will be here.
Right. QT Marshall is making the damnedest appearance I've ever seen. He's gonna be at Triple Mania in Mexico in July. Triple Mania 31. He's going to be teaming with apparently he attacked Pentagon Jr. And he's going to be in the program. I mean, I don't know what to say, because QT is one of my favorites. I wasn't interested in Triple Mania before. I may order the damn thing. Hell, I may go down to Mexico for it, to be honest with you. We were talking about things that will make you move. We were talking about things that'll make you move. This may be a thing that makes me move down there, but we'll have to see. But more of that as the show gets closer, because that's happening July 15th. Obviously, the Iron Sheik passed away, 81 years old, passed away earlier this week. So, rest somewhere. I can't say that I'm a fan of the Iron Sheik, but the wrestling world definitely gave a lot of condolences earlier. So that's sad to hear that he passed away at 81 years old at his home in Georgia. Also, one last thing, very quickly. The NBA Finals were on last night. So was Dynamite. Dynamite's ratings were on the up. And it is interesting that they are actually trending in a positive direction against major sports, because of the fact that it is the NBA Finals. So if they're on again against another major sporting event, what's going to be the excuse if it doesn't do as well? Can't blame it on it. We've seen them go up against the NBA Finals before and did very well. So that's not an excuse you're going to be able to use too much longer. The very, very last thing and to give you an idea of what type of week it's been, Darby Allin, who has a bunch of tattoos, got another one. And it's kind of like this weird tree thing that's like going up the side of his scalp into branches on like the side of his head, and the tree looks like a hand that kind of covers his ear. It's a really odd looking tattoo, but then again, it is odd because it's Darby Allin's tattoo. So it's the damnedest thing, but good on him. He's not here for a long time. He's definitely here for a good one. So it's been that type of week. I really hope the very last thing before we get out of here. I'm going to Dynamite next week. This coming
That's right.
Wednesday.
They're here in DC.
Yeah, they're here.
It feels like it's flown under the radar too.
Right. And that's kind of the thing. It's been kind of like a long, lazy, smoky, completely caustic summer so far, where it's just like, well, Double or Nothing happened. Nothing's really going on. Collision's happening. Sure. Dynamite's going to be in town Wednesday. Sure. Pay-per-views in 3 weeks. Sure. I don't know, man. It just feels like nothing really has. Are we just in the summertime, lull right now? Where it's just is this beach season?
That's part of it. Summer's here, and people are like, they're distracted. They got other stuff to do. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels that way. It definitely feels like I know things are going on, but I'll be there when it happens. But I'm not really excited for the entirety of the ride.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I am with it. But I will be at Dynamite this coming Wednesday. I really hope they tape Ring of Honor, because I have not climbed the paywall of Honor. And I'm hoping they do a show there. They did not do one in Baltimore, so that was annoying. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. We have a lot to talk about next week. Of course, Collision for a show. Hopefully, if something eventful happens at Dynamite next week, I'll definitely bring you that. And then, of course, anything big that's happening in the wrestling world, we'll be able to cover next week. But yeah, it's been an hour.
There you go. We somehow made it. Going in, we weren't quite sure how much we'd get into, but we nailed all of it. We filled the hour. So your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast does it again on another Thursday night. So, folks, as always, 8 p.m. Thursdays. That's when we're here live on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all your social media platforms. And then, of course, the next day, Friday morning, we drop in podcast form on all your favorite podcast platforms. So whether you want the video version or the audio version, your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast has you covered. Always can check out what's going on in the news and wrestling and entertainment and stuff. So some of the guys are covering some movies tonight at biggoldbelt.com on the web. And of course, Big Gold Belt on all social media between Twitter and Instagram, all those platforms. We're on all of them with all the different stuff. So your one-stop shop for entertainment, media, wrestling, comics, all that good stuff, biggoldbelt.com. So folks, next Thursday, we'll be back to talk Collision, to talk Dynamite, all the stuff in wrestling. Who knows what we'll have going on next week, but we'll be here to talk about it next Thursday, 8 p.m. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
All I really need